Have you ever wondered why some goals finally stick after years of failed attempts, while others never seem to get off the ground no matter how many times you tried? I remember sitting at my computer, slice of pizza in one hand, beer in another, and I'm watching this guy outside who's building a fence of ours, and this guy is amazing. I mean, I pointed at him, I'm like, I want that. Craig was ripped. Strong shoulders, no extra weight anywhere. He was lean. It wasn't underweight. He was just moving lumber around like it was nothing. I'm on the other side of the glass inside because we had hired this guy to, build up a perimeter around our house. And here I am, this beer gut that's obviously the beer is fueling the beer gut. And there's something about watching this guy that just lit me up, that wanted me to feel, I don't know. I just like, oh my gosh, I want what that guy has. I want to be in shape. I want to be ripped. I want to be toned. He wasn't all that much younger than me, so I'm not like going, oh my gosh, I wish I was back in my 20s again. It wasn't that. But here was the guy that was really in shape, moving around like it was super easy. So today I want to talk to you about the moment that, especially that moment, but why it mattered so much more than just this warnings that I've ever had to, those doctor warnings that sometimes you get that you ignore. And I want to talk about those sort of things. But before we get into all this great stuff, if you've been circling around your own goal for a while without ever really wanting it enough to move forward, head over to talktoperry.com. Let's talk about what it would actually look like in your chapter of life, where you're at, and what that would be for you to reach that goal. That's over at talktoperry.com. So here's the thing. This was not the first sign that I had gotten. A guy in my bowling league, maybe a decade prior. It wasn't quite a decade. Yeah, maybe it was a decade prior. I'm pointing out every guy in the bowling, in our bowling league, about, this guy's got a beer gut, that guy's a beer gut. And I'm like, hey, Doug, isn't it weird? Look at all these guys with beer guts in the, all over the place. And he says to me, don't worry, Perry, wait till you're 30 and then it'll happen to you. I'm like, no, that's not happened to me. So I laugh it off. But he was right. That did happen. I kind of lived up to what he had said, not intentionally, though. My uncle was watching me eat. We were at a family reunion, and I stop and I get this wonderful, it was called a gooey butter cake. If you're in St. Louis area, you know about gooey butter. So I'm eating this gooey butter cake at a family reunion, and my uncle says to me, food like that's going to catch up with you eventually. You just wait. Now, I had heard him too say the same thing over and over and over. None of those moments really changed a single thing. It's not like, oh my gosh, you're right, I'm going to give up gooey butter and get in shape. Or, oh, you're right, all these guys in their 30s have a big beer gut, I'm not going to do that. You know what? Words from other people, even the true ones, they can really move you. But sometimes they can rarely move you. And that got me really thinking. Why didn't the stuff from people before pointing things out, why did I not see myself ever having to worry about that? I guess because I always thought there would always be time to get back to work, get in shape and do all this stuff. But I was at a tipping point, at least a tipping point that I was telling myself, it's going to be too late in life for me. And see, Doug was right. And see, my uncle was right. And see, Craig's over there. He must have figured something out. He's got ripped abs, not me. But that picture would not leave me alone. It's like, man, if Craig could do that, it's not like I walked out to Craig and say, hey, what's your fitness routine? This guy was taking and tearing down barns and then rebuilding them other places. And he was doing exercise in a much different way than I would ever do in a gym or a home gym. But here he was strong. had real energy and a body that worked with him for what he needed to do instead of dragging something around. Like when I was mowing my lawn, I'd be like, oh my gosh, why am I so out of energy? That's the part people miss about wanting something bad enough to chase it, to have that burning desire. A lot of us, we could talk a big game, right? We could talk about having a burning desire to do something. I have a desire to do this. I really want to. I should. But it's a vague sense that you should probably get healthier, and it really doesn't move you, right? But a specific picture that you cannot stop seeing in yourself, the bowling league comment, my uncle's comment, both true. Both, at least for me to take action, were useless because they only told me what I was doing wrong. But seeing Craig's ability and what he was able to do, that's what I wanted. I was like, I want that. It wasn't necessarily I want ripped abs. That wasn't my goal. Although I was like, man, how did this guy do it? I wanted the energy. I wanted to feel youthful. So it still took time after that. It's not like, oh my gosh, Craig's done building our fence, I'm going to hit the gym. Nothing like that. I think Craig got the project done the summer of 2001. We're going in the Wayback Machine here. It wasn't until spring of 2003 when I actually got serious. But the picture that it just kept quietly coming back. It was actually an infomercial that kind of pushed me to, that looks like something I can do, and I might be able to just get in shape like that guy that came and built our fence. But it was really easy over that year and a half to say, well, I'm going to do this. And then I'd push it down when life got busy. Something else took priority. Days later, months later, years later. It's usually when you're at your worst moment, like you're reaching for a second helping, or maybe maybe a second or third bowl of cereal, or you're skipping your workout because the couch seemed to be a lot easier to sit and chill on. I sat there building until it finally turned into this decision. Something that I couldn't talk myself out of. Well, I probably could have talked myself out of it. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to attempt this. I'm going to do this. And I know this is for a whole another story later on how I did it, but I actually took action. And it started on, it ended up being that moment that I decided, that I committed, that I was like, I've got this burning desire to get in shape, has been a continuous 23 years and just an ongoing adventure. It wasn't anything like I did this for a time and then I stopped. It just ignited that I'm going to show up and get healthy and get fit and exercise each day. So the fence guy, the guy that was building it, and that specific want of having the energy and everything that it seemed that he had, that planted in me. And it was like where everything started. And it wasn't the comments that people said. It wasn't necessarily any warnings that the doctors were saying. It was the picture that I saw in my mind that I could not stop seeing is what did it. I'm just thinking back to, if you've ever read the book Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. I mean, it's just planting that seed, getting it into your mind, that using your imagination, using the power of will, using that having that burning desire, having a desire to do it. You got to be able to do, show up and do it, and you got to be willing. So some people are able, but they're not willing. Years can go by collecting reasons that you should change without ever landing on something that you actually want. You can know every fact. You can research it all. You can go out there and fire up some sort of chat bot and find out more and more and more. You can know all these details on why your habits are hurting you and still not take action. Because facts alone, they're never going to be enough. There are some people that will do it. It might be you. I have no idea. What moves you is picturing the version of yourself, getting into that feeling like, oh my gosh, I can feel this. I know it. Picturing that version of yourself that you actually want to become clearly enough. You got to get clear on it so that you stop comparing yourself to the old you, and you start having that vision of where life can be. And instead of putting it out into the future, you start taking those actions now. Even though like I said, I started exercising and I was out of shape, overweight, and overwhelmed, but I still started taking action. And it wasn't like I was like, okay, I'm a person who shows up for exercise. Didn't mean that I was stellar at exercise. I barely do two push-ups. You don't need somebody else's warning to finally move. You need your own picture of what you actually want, clear enough that it will not leave you alone until you finally get it, and then you take action. You've got this, my friend. I'd love to hear your top takeaway from today. I totally will respond. Thank you so much. And I just so appreciate you. You absolutely rock, my friend. And as always, remember, it's never too late. We'll see you next week. That's another Power Blast podcast in the books. Thanks so much for tuning in. And remember, when you are ready to recharge your battery, make sure you go to talktoperry.com. That's talktoperry.com. That's Perry. And I want to listen. I want to hear, what's going on. I want to help you in that 15-minute call to recharge your battery and reclaim your power so that you're off and running and creating massive momentum toward your dream. Also, every day I am delivering more motivation, support, tips, and strategies inside my free community with amazing people like yourself. And we are conquering the mindset and the fitness. I do 52 weeks of free training in there. Plus, I coach and I mentor people, as well as give you access to tons of resources and guides. It's called my Upside Down Fitness Community because we work on a lot of mindset stuff, the inside stuff. And we're a fun group of people striving to make healthier habits in this awesome chapter of life. So make sure you get in there. I promise you'll absolutely love it. Just head over to upsidedownfit.com and you can get into the group. And hey, you would be an awesome friend if you get over to iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcast and leave an honest rating and review for the Power Blast podcast. It helps awesome people like you find this show even faster, and that's who I'm looking for, awesome people like you. That's all I have for this week, my friend, and just to let you know, you absolutely rock. That's all I have for this week. I'll see you on the next Power Blast podcast, and always remember, it's never too late. We'll see you next week.